Good morning all. I'm going to introduce the paper World Classics in Translation with the code number, paper title BAN DSC 11. It's the elective paper. You know, we have this kind of an option to choose it from the pool of electives. And we have 11 total 11 electives for the whole course. And at times we can choose from 1, 2, 3, 4 order. Up to 4th semester we used to follow the order. After that we make a selection according to the faculty availability, study material availability, everything. I told you already as the general introduction for the whole semester. But you know, I have 3 papers. I'm sharing 3 of the papers, dealing with all the 3 papers, 3 main papers. Actually this is not a main paper. Even then, being the elective, still you can see by looking at the contents of the paper, you can understand this is immediately connected with the literature itself, right? So you can see all those works from different literatures, not actually English, and that itself is the relevance of this paper. And this selection I told you, after 4, DSC 4 we have DSC 5, DSC 6, DSC 7, in the same order up to DSC 11. And in the 5th semester definitely we didn't go for DSC 5, but DSC 8 we chose the drama paper for you, DSC 8. And I told you as one of the electives we have Shakespeare, readings on Shakespeare as a paper. But still that is the way we go for a logical selection of the electives. We can opt or we can make such selection in the case of electives, if not in the case of core papers. I told you 601 and 602 we can never change. 501 and 502 we can never have a change. We have to learn it in the very semester which it is allotted for, right? Just wait. So in the same way, you know, readings on Shakespeare can be given, but what's the problem? The problem is you are just you do not have much exploration in the whole realm of drama. If you opt for a paper called Reading on Drama, you have different writers from different time period, different methods of drama writing, all those you can be introduced to. But at times we can choose Shakespeare as well, I told you even before. And in the same way, DSC 8, DSC 9, DSC 10, all those papers, better than all those papers, we felt this to be more apt for you, because this paper contains the title you can see, this is World Classics in Translation. And with that itself, hope you get an idea how it goes like, how it works out, World Classics in Translation. Actually, we have Malayalam literature, translated Malayalam literature works also as an elective paper. But world classics and classics as a term, you are not new to, you are not unfamiliar with. We learn it as part of literary criticism and theory. Actually, the very beginning of the paper, we learned that term, we know the concept, how relevant it was in that area of study, because now we have modern literary theories, everything, but in the very beginning how they had been contributing, how much relevant their contribution had been. So we saw literary critics of the classic time period, classic literary criticism, and that's how I would like you to connect that with the paper World Classics in Translation. Literary criticism, literary theory, the basic differences you came across already. Literary criticism is inherently and immediately connected with the literature, works of literature, essentially about dealing or reading the works of literature itself. But theory, I told you, it's not actually much connected with the literature. We make use of the theories to read literature even at a later stage. But criticism in general, literary criticism as such was produced or created for the sake of reading literature as such. And we had this Plato, Aristotle and many other literary critics coming into being, or their contributions as such we saw. So during their time, what about the or during their time, as well as from their own literature, from their own languages. That's why we have this classic languages. English is not definitely a classic language. It's a universal language which has more reach, wider reach, and that's why World Classics in Translation, we make it available in English, and the relevance of the same also I will give you as part of our general introduction. You can see in the first module, before that we will have a look at the module division. Module 1 comprises of 3 poems by 3 different writers actually, but before that literature, going into the literature works as such, we have a general introduction to World Classics in Translation, which I am going to get you today. Okay, so general introduction, then you can see poetry, a brief introduction. Poetry as a genre that is not really unfamiliar to us, you know. Poetry as such, if it is from World Classics, if it is from English, if it is from Malayalam, we know the essential nature of poetry even without discussing. But still, as it is part of our paper, we may have a general look at the same. Okay, that's all. But the general introduction to World Classics in Translation is very important. You get the point? So that is very important, and I would like to do that today for your sake as a general introduction, and later we will go to the basic works of literature. We will go for that, and again the module division also I got to the idea in the very first class itself. That is first and the third module I will be dealing. Different in a very different manner. We have only 3 modules here, but the works are there as such, with fiction, some short fiction, dramas are there, poems are there, and this is the way we have the module division. You see here, the first module comprises of actually 3 works as such. The first one being the Divine Comedy by Dante, the Reunion by Goethe, and I Loved You by Alexander Pushkin. These are the main works as such we have to. This is for detailed study. And you can see there as non-detailed study with an introduction to Homer and Virgil, touching the Iliad, Odyssey, Aeneid. We'll get general introduction I will go to, but still you can see the contents as subdivided to be detailed and non-detailed. Detailed study means only one thing, that is even annotations can be asked from that. And should not be confused in between. That is, detailed study is for very keen observation you have to, or in a very perfect manner you have to study, and non-detailed study it's very casual. No, that is not the idea. Non-detailed study means you have to have the surface basic information of the topic as per the prescription. As prescribed, you have to go for a basic introduction, the general idea. But detailed study, you can see almost all the literary works are for detailed study as such. Means, even line by line questions you can expect from this line. Divine Comedy, the other 2 poems by different writers from different parts of the world, different corners. And that's what we are going to get in the general introduction. Drama paper, Sulphia teacher will be dealing with. And the third module, fiction and the short fiction, I will be dealing. This is the module-wise division. Hope you got the whole point clear, right? Yes. Now, World Classics. It comprises of 3 modules. First module, essentially it is about poetry. At a basic level, it is completely about poetry in general. If about the detailed or non-detailed, it is about the poetry in general. Okay, poetry from different, okay, if you take British prose, if you take British drama, British fiction, you have all the writers from that particular geographical space or from nation of as such, Indian writings. All the writers are from India. But World Classics in Translation as a paper, when you are getting introduced to, you have multiple writers from different corners of the world, and that is it. Different works from different parts of the world, and the best works and the best translations. Of course, the translation becomes very important at this stage. Why? First one, Dante, you see, he is an Italian writer. And definitely we do not know that language. The original works are from their own national language, their own mother tongue, if you want to make it more specific. Can you expect you or me to read and understand an Italian writing if it is given in that language, Italian language? No. German. Goethe is basically from German. He is a German writer. The German language. A few words we may be able to. But the whole idea, the whole poem, the whole novel to be read out in their language, it's impossible. Just go to the next one. That is, even if it is Sanskrit, in Indian language it is. But we cannot. If you do not know the language, you cannot identify. You cannot even read and get anything from that. That's why the translation of these classic works, the writings from multiple different corners of the world that transcend the geographical boundaries, time, space, all the barriers, and still stay relevant, are still read out by different people from different corners of the world, irrespective of their other differences like nationality, class, race, language, dialect, any other barriers, because they are translated into English, and English has its own universal wide reach, and that's what you mean by world classics in translation. Okay, yeah, just wait. Talk about poetry, just have an idea. Dante is from Italy, Goethe is from Germany, and multiple other writers we will discuss in the coming days. Okay, so that's why I told you at this stage, not just with the world classics in translation, with any paper, with any writer, you have numerous works from different genre, different time period. So you can have a basic idea about the writer as such. We didn't have such a practice because till date, we came across different writings, but Indian writings as such, we can at least have an idea. Of course, it must be after the independence. Or, most of the works are after the independence or immediately connected with the freedom struggle. Basic or the new modern Indian writings. Like we are very familiar with the writers. If you talk about Kamala Das, we are not very unfamiliar with the writer. But you talk about modern literature, obviously there are differences. The modern writer who comes in the initial stage of that movement, is that the approach towards writing, everything is entirely different from the way you see a writer at the later stages of modernism. That's how the time period, a reference to a work, the year of publication of a book, all these become important if you talk about modern literatures. Same with the case of world classics in translation. Even with the women writings. The women writers who were in the very beginning of the initial stage of their of the movement, their stand is not actually the same with that of the new writers. They are more radical. You can see more radical women writers at present because they have the weapon of deconstruction as well, post-structuralism as well. In the beginning, they were having the common consensus, basic common understanding about just fighting against the patriarchy. But later stages, with the second wave of feminism, with the third wave of feminism, their essential approach changed. Their stand changed. So this is the way this is better for us to mark down the year of the span of the writer as well as the year of the publication of the writings as such. I'm not talking it as a mandatory thing, but for the better and basic, most preferable understanding, that is a best idea. That is one of the best methods you can adopt for. Okay, yes. Into the general introduction of world literatures or world classics. World literature as a term means the sum total of the world's national literature. The whole world different nations, different continents and different nations with different cultures, different languages. Even within the language, you know how much varieties, how many different varieties, and we call it dialect, registers, many other varieties. You have already been introduced to all these concepts in your studies of the paper called History of English Language. There itself you get the basic differences in the same language. Old English, Middle English, Modern English. How different they are. Right, and this is the same way different. Now we are having a very broader picture with the world classics in general, world literatures in general. Classics you keep it for the time being, but world literature as such, when you look the spectrum, it's a very broader spectrum, very broader space with multiple possibilities to be adopted at any time. But classics as such, you know, it is from the very remote. See, it's of a very past time period. The modern writings we never include in this. At a latest time period, of course, after 2000 years, some people who are learning literature may take some of the works of this time, the writers of this time to be, or they may consider them to be classic. But at present, we have the option to take these writers from a very earlier time period to be taken as classic. Classic time, classic writers, classic languages, and the modern writers to be included. We have modern literature as a body of notion. Right, yes. So here, different nations, different languages and literatures, the translation. How does translation of this work become important? From all across the world, translation, most often it is in English, into English, and you have to think in terms of the universal nature of English. On the basis of our preference, love for our mother tongue, we always say and still stick on to the same notion that we should not throw away our mother tongue for the sake of giving importance to English. The English medium school, the fascination, all those are there. And we can go for the same, we can opt for the same, we can oppose the same. But one language, learning one language should not be at the stake of the other language. It should not be, it should not happen by throwing away the one language which we are already acquainted with which we are already in possession with. We on our mother tongue. Without taking much effort, we have Malayalam. Without taking much effort, Tamilians have Tamil. Carnatic people have Carnatic language. The people belonging to such northern spaces, northern areas, they learn Hindi without having any difficulty. What about my case? Very different. But what the language which we have already in our ownership, we should not throw away for the fascination for any other language. But English as a language, apart from as a fascination, it should not be a fascination, but as an essential core of our very existence in the society. You have to think in terms of it as an essential. It's a tool for communication. Because if you cling on to the mother tongue and go to some other state, even if you are in your own country, go to other state, only this common tool comes to your help. That is English. The universal nature of the language, we cannot deny that. And beyond a fascination, it should become as a tool for communication, or it should be taken as such in that way, so that you will get the relevance of learning English. Why do all the batches get introduced to communication skills in English? Whichever student it may be, whichever their main subject may be, all of them are having that paper as the core paper, the compulsory paper. 101. Now change it for such a core paper with such a code. So the relevance of English, and that's how this translation, the world classics as such given to you, you will not be able to read out and understand anything. I will not be able to read and understand anything. Any people belonging to this area, okay, if you are well versed in that language, fine. But how many of us can learn all the Italian, German and many other languages, the classic languages? Greek, Roman, Italian, all these are classic languages. We cannot always learn all these all together. So we all have these translated versions of these works into English. Okay, yes. Now with the world-wider global views and evaluation, that is the next. This is all about the first module, first topic. That is the general introduction to world classics. There you talk about the wider global views and evaluation. See, a writer, a classic work remains for the same nation without having any circulation, or even the work is circulated, it is there available in the internet it is available. You go and download the file. Even if just with the internet, the technology, we have this wider circulation possible. But what about the evaluation? You know what Eliot said. What did he say about criticism? Criticism is as inevitable as breathing. You read a literature, you read a piece of literature, and you just close the book and go to home without thinking anything, without discussing anything on that, without writing a review on that. It doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make much difference. So that is why evaluation, interpretation, discussion, criticism in the real sense of the term, in the context of literature, becomes very important, very essential. You get the idea? Yeah. So worldwide global circulation and evaluation. Internet to become a whole, the main part of our being, that has become actually as such after the COVID-19 pandemic. Before that, we people immediately go and search the library. If that is there as a printed version, no one prefers to read a book in the soft copy version. Now, especially just think about a novel like Life of Pi containing some 400 pages. Who prefers to read as such on a phone screen? No. Nowadays we are not left out with much options. But definitely after the advent of technology, these facilities have been there for all these past some, if you want to be very specific, past 50 years. Technology has its own advancement, and definitely we can see the differences, changes, the circulation possibility, all those. Even in that case, this evaluation is very important. It's not that you just read a work and you don't understand anything. For the sake of doing that, going for the reading, you do this. Evaluation should happen. Interpretation should happen. Only then it comes into a completion. Just think about your project report submission. Yeah, you do the work, you analyze, you do go for interpretation. Okay, it becomes your own. If you make the proper chords, everything from different, if you take some external sources, you chord it, you acknowledge the work, and then the whole project report is your own. But the problem is, you come with the printed version, the teacher takes it, keeps it inside the table and say goodbye, okay, bye for now. You go home and then you are given, and there is no viva, there is no other evaluation as such. That doesn't make any sense. The teacher takes that, she or he conducts the viva. You give more additional points. During viva you may have more to add on the works, on the literary works, on different writing, different works which you have mentioned there. You might not have written something on that in the project as such. But that is what I mean by evaluation. And then the whole work becomes complete. It gets a real existence as such. Same with the world classics in translation. Here you have this translation, and then you may have the question. So can you say that then English, you have the translations in English. So how do you make sure that all the people get it as such if you translate it into English? What about the people who do not know English? At least at some point of their life, at least when it becomes very essential, you will learn it. Tomorrow onwards, that's how that happens in the case of languages. Now you can see how certain languages, these people, at times different governments try to make national language, assert national languages. Now you know how Malayalam has become, it has become part of the even at official purposes you should write in Malayalam. That has become a rule. And you know, in universities, there are times that now that is very important. That Malayalam as such is used when you write something like you give a request to office. You have to write in Malayalam. At certain different government sectors nowadays make it very strict to use Malayalam, because there is in Kerala system, if you go for an official purpose, all the people know Malayalam, and you know even people who do not know Malayalam, even they are residing in Kerala. Because the children, they never go to Malayalam medium school. They are just born and brought up in English medium schools, and they feel that sometimes some parents at least feel that knowing Malayalam is very bad. So this is the way we have the differences in attitude, differences in situation, everything. But the problem is, if you take an effort, at time if English becomes part and parcel of our life, and we have such a situation existing as such, so at times, at a point, we come across the language, and if we talk about the proportion of the people who know this language, that is even beyond a level that we can go for this claim or an exception, like, yeah, English is not known for everyone. So world classics in translation to avail in English, does it make much sense? Of course, there must be a minority who never get any chance to learn English, but that possibility is higher. For them at least to come into terms with this language is higher. So in that regard, world classics in translation to avail in English makes sense. Okay, so that is the way our difference. Even if we stick on to our mother tongue, even if the other people stick on to their own mother tongues, still English as such once becomes part and parcel of our language, life, and basic communication structures. We are more used to learn its literature, or at least read different articles, even newspapers, everything. Okay, so that is all with the general introduction for the paper as such. Next, you can see poetry, a brief introduction. Actually, poetry, a brief introduction doesn't mean into poetry. Poetry as a genre, are you supposed to get much introduction? Still, just let us see what it is about. It's a word of Greek origin. Poetry is a word of Greek origin. Don't write it now, I will get you the notes. And what is it? To create. That is the word actually mean to make, create, all these sense you get. And a creation takes place in all kinds of literature, not just in poetry, with the help of language. So, yeah, actually even Gadde, our own writer here, he pointed out to be poetry as the universal possession of mankind, revealing itself everywhere and all at times. So it's about the universal expression of mankind. All these very elevated kind of definitions you can give accordingly, according to the genre you prefer. You say some people prefer poetry, some people do not like poetry, some people prefer only fiction, someone like only drama. So that genre preferences, the options, all those may be the differences you can note down at times. But poetry as such, certain people point out to be like this, and it's not written as you write prose. These differences you are already aware of. It's not as you write a paragraph. You have different other devices Most of the literary devices we make use mainly in the writing of poetry. Okay, so the symbols, rhyme, rhythm, rhyme scheme, meters, different other devices, literary devices. You do not always go in search of them or do not care while writing a fiction. You can do, but still we limit that, and we limit to the most often, or if a person writes fiction, he or she most often they give importance to what you call theme, plot, character creation, all those. But in the case of poetry, more than the theme, the writers may go for giving importance to such devices. Simile, metaphor, all those literary devices, the kind of metaphors, all those you can, in the reading of a poem also. That's not just about plot. Even a word, single word you can discuss for much at a great length, because even that word, the very position of the word may have a greater significance there. So poetry as a genre, if you have to discuss, that has to be discussed as with more importance. But in the context of this module, if you discuss it in the context of this module, you can have different poems from different languages, but all getting translated into English, and we are going to read the English versions of this particular poems, these poems. Okay, yes. And the poetry is a universal, although I told you, an epic poem, you know, different varieties of poem. Nowadays we have button poetry, just haiku. After postmodernism, you saw how this differences, the high art, low art, how these different genres getting mixed up. They promote it like anything. You know how Aristotle talks about the unity of action, unity of time, place. How strict they had been in the mode of in the case of observing these rules, and the very structuring of the different literary works. See, Aristotle mainly talked about drama. I pointed out the example for your basic understanding. What is that? അല്ലേ ഇത്ര സമയത്തിൻ്റെ ഉള്ളിൽ തീർക്കാം, ഇത്ര പേജസ് വേണം, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇങ്ങനെ ക്യാരക്ടർ ഇങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ ആയിരിക്കണം. All those obstinate stand on the part of this, if you want to make it more funny, you could see. But what about the drama of this time? Breath as a drama. You just go and check out. Waiting for Godot. What about the characters? What about the dialogue? What about the duration? Stage technique? Is anything needed? Nothing. And the same way, breath as a drama, I think, it is just about the breath, and that comes to an end. A person on stage, or I don't know whether a person even needs it. We just go and check out details about that. That much lenient we are in the mode of writing, or writing techniques, everything. But there had been a time where writers were very particular about noticing down all these. Okay, and definitely Aristotle, Plato, they were not really literary. They didn't produce much literary works, but the criticism, how you have to, the rules, they were rule givers. And most of the writers who wanted to get approval or to be appreciated as such, decided or tried to stick on to the rules given by these writers at that time, at least. Nowadays we do not have, and that's how the discussion of epic becomes very important. Discussion of epic poetry, you know, the features are well defined. You have to stick on to the features. You cannot change the serious subject. Epic is about a serious subject, about a single hero. Even though a lot of characters are there, the whole ideas, whole plot, even plot, nowadays we do not talk about plot in a poem. But that time epic, if you want the whole structure, the whole events, you connect and talk about as the plot. And that's why from that we have this tragedy as a genre coming into being later. Variety of drama, even then tragedy as such coming from the serious kind of a treatment of the literary character. We know this epic character, epic hero. We talk about epic hero, epic heroine. That time only heroes, epic hero. And the whole plot, whole events are immediately and inherently connected with this person's life. You may have different, very important things happening all around. But those things which you discuss in this epic or this particular writing must be revolving around this particular person, the epic hero. And epic as such, that is a long poem, epic hero, with like you have different multiple examples from these world classics itself, like Homer's Iliad, Virgil's Aeneid, Paradise Lost by Milton. No, it's from British literature, but still we have all these epic as the example for epics from different literatures. Homer's Iliad, you can see for the non-detailed study we have Homer's and Homer, Virgil, Iliad, Odyssey, Aeneid, all these works to be mentioned as such. At least the plot, the summary, theme, basically all this we will have to note down. Okay, and then next it is about the Divine Comedy by Dante. Definitely I am not going to deal with that today, but just let me project one of the poems prescribed for you, and then you will understand the translation work is definitely the whole about English itself. Once it is translated into English, you just see, that's why I selected one of the very short poems. It's a short poem, Divine Comedy, to take and read it for you in the very beginning. It will not make much sense. But I have taken Alexander Pushkin's I Loved You, that poem. We have Gade's The Reunion, even it's even comparatively lengthier one. Hope that one you will be able to project that file for me now. Reem, please do that.